Hello, me and all random people. This is October 2023 Bouldering. This month has definitely been one of my best. I do lots of cool climbs and I do some stuff on the spray wall. And on that spray wall, I did some stuff for school, and I'll show that when I get to that day. This month has definitely been one of my best months so far. On the 3rd, I mainly do two problems that weren't easy. This green grade I described as a coordination, undercling, and dynamic climb. There's a no black wall rule on this problem, so I can't use these walls that I'll point to in editing, but I can use the holds on them. This one's really fun, and I have basically been doing this every session. The start was interesting. I wasn't allowed to rest myself on the black wall, so I had to step up on the volume and push myself off of the starting holds. It was quite easy until I got up to the bit with the undercling and the move to that sideways dual text jug. There are two ways of doing it. There's a static way and a dynamic way. The dynamic way is the way I do it, and it can be done more exaggeratedly. You can try to jump as hard as you can and you'll be slamming yourself onto the wall. The static way can be done, but I never record it, but you just kind of jump up and push yourself off of the same jug, staying between that jug and where you jumped from. For the next problem, this green grade, I described it as dynamic, crimpy, and juggy. There's at least one jump that you can do, the jump being at that undercling under the volume. It's quite short and I fell halfway through. I noticed in the previous clip that I didn't have my hands as right as I could do, so I made that move in this attempt. I do have a hard time finding where to put my feet, but the holds after that jump are crimps, and they're not that bad on their own, but when on an angled wall, it's horrible. The remaining clips on this day are basically just the same as this attempt. And that's all for the 3rd. On the 7th, I would go with a friend who hadn't gone bouldering since February. The point of him being there was just to make a short video about me and bouldering for school. About his climbing, he's still quite powerful in his moves, but technique was horrible. Kind of expected if he hasn't gone bouldering in ages. So yeah, he was rusty, so yeah, it makes sense. But I don't have any videos of him climbing. Before I can start talking about my clips, I need to talk about one of the clips in my friend's video. In my journal, I wrote that I had a go at that green problem I showed on the 3rd day. And while doing some filming for his assignment, I did that, and on my first attempt for the day, I skipped the crimps and I just kind of jumped up to the top hold because I knew it was good since it was a jug. The thought of doing it was a bit scary, and it was kind of high up on the wall, but I knew I was safe, and I stuck it. Next problem, this purple slab is a loco grade, so it's definitely not representative of its grade because this is way harder than a purple grade. The holes look like super shit crimps, but they're actually not that bad. The start isn't that bad. The hold up to where the black hold is, it was an undercling, but it was a really bad one. So the only thing I could do was put my thumb underneath it and the rest of my fingers would just go over the top. I would get stuck once I could stand up on the starting holds and I would have no idea what to do from there. My leg was just at a corner, so rocking over my left leg was a challenge, but I never did it. For the next climb, I didn't record it because it was in the cave area. Apparently, I flashed that one, and it was just one of those really easy joggy climbs. You do have to figure out what to do with your feet, otherwise you're just camping it, and that can make you very tired very quickly, especially on an overhang. I was proud of how I used my feet, and I said that it was a bit too easy for a pink grade. The last clip is a yellow one that was seen in September. In this session, I read that group of kinda jugs as a crack, so that's why I put crack with a question mark in the entry of this day. Throughout the session, I would try really hard to get a good jam in that crack, but it was hard to get into, and it was a really bad jam to get into because the crack was so big. I would fall a lot and not top it in this session. There were a lot of clips of me attempting this problem. See, as I mentioned before, there's a spray wall in my gym, and there's an app that people use to make problems on the wall, and you can like save them. I used that, and I just kind of ticked off all the easiest climbs that people have made. I flashed all the V0s and did one V1. I didn't record any clips of it, but I do have it documented in my journal. And that's all for the 7th. On the 10th, I didn't do too many climbs today because I was mainly doing that yellow loco that I've been doing for at least 2 weeks now. Onto the clips. For the first clip, a friend, I had a I had a friend with me, and he showed me this beta, and I got really confused on how he did it. So we recorded it to analyze the clip. His beta has always got me because I could never do it. He's quite light, so that's kinda how he was able to do what he did. But still, weird as shit. Over here, I do some terrible attempts trying to do his beta. Never made it. In the next attempt, I would do something crazy, and from that sentence, it's quite obvious that I got past that crux, and I did. I did it with a different beta, and my reaction shows how confused and surprised I am on how I got that. I would top it as well. The moves just came to me, and I'll stick with that beta for the rest of my attempts. Since I was able to top that problem from the crux, I would try to put the two parts together. I was still able to do the first part of the problem, but I would struggle to get past the crack thing because I was kinda tired from doing so many attempts on the same problem. But after doing a bunch of attempts, I finally topped it. As it can be told in this clip, I was so glad to match the top hold, and my writing shows how happy I was to do it. After that climb, I did this pink one in the cave area. It was crimpy and There was a lot of twisting my body. I had to press off a hold at the start, and then I had to go into the next holds, kind of blind because it was around a corner. That part was easy, but it got harder. Crimps are not really my strength, and I wasn't ready for them. I would fall a few times and not do it again because it got too hard for me, and it was also a new problem that day, so the holds were at their roughest. Also, at this point, I would start tallying attempts in my journal. For the next problem, the way I recorded this was terrible. The whole thing isn't in the frame of the video, and it stays consistent for a while, and carries over to uh, next days, future days, whatever. I described it as a slab and crimpy. This one required me to be very slow and precise with my moves, as it was very easy to lose balance and fall off. The start was easy, but it was kind of weird to get into and do the first moves in my first attempts. Walking on the volumes was a bit of something because they were kind of small and there wasn't much to hold me to the wall. I had no idea how to approach the next hold. I would try to grab it first before I started walking, but it never worked. In the next clip is the last clip of the day and one of my attempts that I did for this problem. I was able to get myself all the way onto the right side of the volumes and stand there, but the main thing that I focused on at the time was how I started the problem, because I really liked how I did it there. And that's all for the 10th. On the 14th, I went to do some climbing on the spray wall for an art thing. The clips were very long and I would just take screenshots of the video whenever I was on a different part of the wall or in a different position. If I can find the finished thing in my house, this is what the image ended up looking like. Making it was pretty boring, but I do like what I made. I'm just complaining about the process of making it. Onto clips. After climbing on the spray wall for about 20-30 minutes, I went to do some climbs. The first one I did was a pink slab, and I didn't write anything about it, so a few clips will be all that will be seen of this climb. That's all I have to say for that one. This clip is another attempt at that pink slab, and I did it differently to how I did it in the previous attempt. Instead of trying to do a karate kick thing right at the wall, I instead try to do the intended way by stepping up on that starting hold, but it's so bad and my foot would just slip at any readjustment that I would do. I couldn't trust that hold, and after my foot slipped off a few times, I fell off. On the same wall but doing a different problem, in this clip I'm doing the purple climb, which is actually graded as a loco, and it's definitely harder than a normal purple climb. I said this stuff before, slab and crimpy holds are never seen in a purple climb before because they're so small and shit. I've talked about this before and I had no idea if this was in the script before, so my bad for writing this part. Despite these holds not being in a regular purple climb, they're actually not that bad to step on and grab, as later I go through this alright. I do get stuck quite quickly after grabbing that hold by the black one, and that's pretty much the furthest I get in this problem. The next two clips return to this slab problem, the green one. I didn't write too much at all in my journal. Literally, all it says is that I just progressed a tiny bit. The way I did the start looked a lot better, and from this point I realized that the little volume by my head is quite useless since there's nothing to hold on to, and the volume is impossible to grab without using the bolt holes, which I still think don't help that much. I tried to lead with my feet, but my left arm was just kind of hanging out there, and I think the reason I fell was because it may have thrown me off balance. After a few more attempts, it looks like I went for a slightly different approach for getting to that little foothold thing, and I was able to stick it after what looked like a somewhat risky move. I never had a feel for those next two holds, and I was not prepared for how shit they were going to be. And at this point, I had no idea what to do, so I would fall off. And that's all for the 14th. On the 17th, I recorded a total of 3 clips, all of them being on that green slab problem that I started doing on the 10th, and they would also have been playing before. Yes, if that makes sense. Before I can start talking about the climb, this volume got replaced because it broke. The increased size does help with walking across the thing because it's bigger, and that's the only thing that got changed at this climb. I also zoomed out the camera this session so you can see the whole problem. I go through the starting bit quite easily, and I don't know if that's because I had a lot of goes on it before recording, or if the bigger volume helped me out get past that starting area faster. But yeah, that was good. I figured out a better way to put my hand on that black wall, and what I could do was use my entire forearm, and that did well. After rocking over and going for the next hold, I remember that the holds on the volume were shit when I first grabbed them. My hand even slipped off in this clip, but I got through that pretty well, and what made me fall was my right foot popping off, and that was actually quite scary, but I'm all good. That foothold, which my right foot popped off of, that was a menace, and I could never trust it. In the next clip, the entire thing went swimmingly well until I did the foot swap at that annoying hold that I just mentioned before, and I messed it up, making me fall. That's it for this one. I'm going to play the whole of the next clip because there are some things that I want to mention. When I put my left foot over my hand, I nearly fell off. Kinda crazy. Topping this problem was probably one of my best moments that I had in climbing. It's not a super dramatic and cool reaction, but I'll let the rest of the clip play before I continue talking. I thought it was crazy that topping this was in the same month as when I topped that yellow loco. After that, I thought that this video was gonna be crazy. And that's all for this month. On the 24th, I spent most of my time there doing a single slab problem. It was new and not many people had the beta for this. I do remember one guy who was crazy strong and had a somewhat dynamic beta for the problem, but I wanted to avoid that because I wanted to do it in the more static way. All the clips recorded on this day were on that slab that I was just talking about. In the first recorded attempt, my friend is filming me, but I'll try to show the whole problem by taking it from another clip. I'm pretty sure this clip is my 9th attempt.
It's a green slab. From what I thought, there was going to be a large focus on just the legs. There were definitely still a decent amount of grabbing, but there were pretty much no holds that were just for hands, excluding the start and top holds. The start was quite simple. The bit after that isn't super easy because if you're stepping on the higher shell hold, going to the next tiny foothold is scary and you go down way too fast. There was a foot swap that I did, and I'm not sure if I was able to repeat that because I have no idea how I did it. I was already close to the top here, and most of the clips after this don't show any difference in my beta or progression. I have a bunch more recordings that I won't talk about because of what I just said before. In the final and 23rd attempt, I do the end bit differently, and I top it. In this clip I top it? I think that's what I meant to say. I didn't want to do it this way because I wanted to try and figure out another way I could get to the top hold, but I didn't. I think it would have been cooler if I did some sick no-hand slab stuff and some crazy balancing, which I would never have done before. So yeah, after topping it, I was so done. I had been doing that slab for over an hour with 23 attempts. I'm not sure if I did some other climbs after that slab, but that was basically my whole session, as that was all that was documented in my journal. And that's almost everything for the 24th. I have a voice recording that I made after that session, and I'm debating whether I put it on YouTube, and I'm leaning towards not doing it, in this video at least, because there's a lot of nothing in these recordings, and I've already posted the compilation videos for this month, so yeah, can't change my mind at the moment. I took way too long to write this script, and I'm so happy that I finally got it finished. And that should be the end of October 2023 bouldering. Goodbye.